guys out there. You've earned your right, by the way, to be there. You're on a run of some good form. You're number 2 with the IBF, now being made mandatory challenger. If Dubois decides, or Alexander Usyk decides to go in against, let's say, Daniel Dubois, where does that leave yourself as in the next big name? Where are you looking to go if that fight doesn't materialise?
Listen, if that fight happens, I'll just wait for my opportunity. Because either way, listen, we want good fights. We want good business. And right now, good business is me and Daniel. Me and Daniel, yeah? And then Joseph Parker and Alexander Usyk. But Usyk and Daniel Dubois will not sell out Tottenham or Wembley. I know that for a fact. Do you believe that will sell out?
No, not necessarily. So what you're saying is your next fight, if you have to be patient for it, will be a world title challenge.
Especially now they made me say yes, 100%. So I'll wait for it.
There you have it. Derek Chisora demanding for his world title shot against Daniel Dubois for the IBF World Championship belt. Now, for those of you that do not know, Derek Chisora is the IBF mandatory challenger and the current champion is Daniel Dubois. So Daniel Dubois has to defend his belt against Derek Chisora. Now, Derek Chisora, you may be asking yourself, how in 2025 is Derek Chisora about to get a title shot? And, you know, it is a question worth asking, right? But boxing is such a strange sport that if you put together a nice form of, you know, winning 3 or 4 fights, all of a sudden you are in contention for something. Now, Derek Chisora, his last few fights have been really good. He's beaten Otto Wallin, he's beaten Joe Joyce, and so, you know, he's put himself in, you know, in good position. And then, you know, Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker that fell through. You had Martin Bakole then come in at late replacement, and because of that, Martin Bakole was then the challenger for the IBF title, right? The mandatory challenger for the IBF title, which Derek Chisora has now taken his place because Martin Bakole decided not to fight for the challenger. So that is how Derek Chisora has now become mandatory for the IBF title. And basically what Derek is saying, as you guys heard in the audio, that he wants that fight against Daniel Dubois. Look, it just seems like everybody wants a part of Daniel Dubois. Now, I'm not saying because Daniel Dubois is easy target, but of course, when world titles are on the line, Derek Chisora, he wants his last fight before calling it quits in boxing, right? He's had a 49th fight and he's looking for the 50th fight to basically sign off. And he wants to go out with a bang. And he wants to go out with a massive fight. And so he's basically saying in that audio, I want my title shot because me and Daniel Dubois can sell out Wembley. According to Daniel Dubois, according to Derek Chisora, Daniel Dubois and Usyk may not sell out Wembley, which I disagree. I think Usyk has won a lot of the hearts of the British boxing fans. So if Usyk is fighting Daniel Dubois, I think it will sell out Wembley. Definitely 90,000, maybe not 95 or 96, or probably 80,000 at Wembley. I think that fight does that. But Derek Chisora versus Daniel Dubois sells out Wembley. He's right. Chisora's right. Chisora against Dubois does sell out Wembley, and it's going to be a big fight in the UK. People love Chisora because he comes to fight and he gives his all in the ring, and, you know, British boxing fans really, really love that. So I can see that fight selling out Wembley. Now, do you guys think that Derek Chisora deserves his opportunity before Joseph Parker, before Usyk against Daniel Dubois? That's a genuine question because, yes, he's become mandatory. And one thing we know is that IBF tend to be very strict with their mandatories. Now, if Frank Warren is going to get Dubois and Usyk in the ring, which is what Frank wants to do at Wembley, he needs to pay some step-aside money to the likes of Joseph Parker and Derek Chisora for them to get it on. Now, what would Derek Chisora do in the meantime? He's going to wait because he wants his 50th fight to be a world title shot. And then you've got Joseph Parker, who wants his title shot against Usyk because he's the WBA championship, WBO, mandatory challenger. So it's a very, very interesting conundrum that the heavyweight division is in right now, because according to the promoters, Frank Warren, who is currently in pole position because he's got Daniel Dubois and he's got Usyk, he wants to make that Usyk versus Dubois fight. Frank Warren also has Derek Chisora as his fighter, and then the same Frank Warren has Joseph Parker as his fighter. So Frank is actually in a win and lose situation because he needs to make sure that he's looking after his fighters. But this Derek Chisora versus Daniel Dubois fight is one that, I think Joseph Parker deserves his shot before Derek gets his shot. I definitely think so. So whether the belts are going to be fragmented, if they're able to get Dubois versus Usyk on, would be interesting to see, because then Derek can get his shot and Joseph Parker can get his shot, depending on how the belts really sort of integrate into different areas, and who wins what and who takes what belt away from and whichever sanctioning body really becomes strict and reinforces the mandatory for that to happen. So it's a very, very interesting scenario in the heavyweight division right now. But Derek Chisora, he wants his shot at the world title, at the IBF title, and Daniel Dubois, right now the IBF champion, needs to defend his mandatory. And Frank Warren, the one that is managing all these guys, needs to find a way to give everyone their title shot. Now, this is very interesting. But the question is, do you think that Derek Chisora deserves his shot before Joseph Parker? Get in the comment section and let me know about this one, because Chisora wants his title shot, and I think at Wembley against Daniel Dubois, it is a massive fight and it's a massive turnaround for Daniel Dubois and Derek Chisora as well. So look, some interesting things happening in the heavyweight division. I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Who deserves his shot the most? Is it Chisora or is it Joseph Parker? Get in the comment section and let me know. As always, guys, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave your comments in the section below.